I need you to write down all those fears around money that you have. And maybe it might even be an offshoot of your actual money. It might be the fear around your job security. It might be the fear around your spouse's job security. It could be the fear around, how am I going to, pay for that nanny because now the au pair left and now I have to get a nanny. Who knows exactly what that fear is? Here's what I know is that every human being out there has them. And so the question is what are we going to do about your fears around money and your money decisions, and how do we get you to the next place? What's going on, everybody? Yes, Julie Murphy here, the money chick. And I always say we work things out and we act it out through our money, through our health, or through our relationships. So if you want to get to this next place and enhance wherever you are at from a money perspective, be sure to click below, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because that way you are then told about when I am going to help you get over this hump, whatever that hump is, for you get to the next part of your financial life that you desire. Now, today, what I want to talk with you about today is we're going to go through some of these fears, right? We all have a lot of fears and of what's going on in the world. I don't care if you're talking about in your own individual families and what's going on, or the world at large. Like shipping containers not getting there in California, or vaccines, or pandemic, or jobs, or, right? Pick any time in history. And there are all kinds of things that we can choose to be fearful about. So I'm going to share with you today 3 things that will really help you. I'm going to call them tools. They're not things. They're tools that you can do to help you get yourself past your fear around your money decisions. Because all too often I have found that these days, many of us are staying in jobs that we don't really like. Why do we stay in those jobs? Well, because we're fearful of, how is the money going to orchestrate? How do I pay my debts? How do I pay for my responsibilities? And sometimes a lot of those answers are just not clear. So here are my 3 things. Let me share with you number 1. Number 1 is, I need you to write down all those fears around money that you have. And maybe it might even be an offshoot of your actual money. It might be the fear around your job security. It might be the fear around your spouse's job security. It could be the fear around, how am I going to, pay for that nanny because now the au pair left and now I have to get a nanny. Who knows exactly what that fear is? Here's what I know is that every human being out there has them. And so the question is what are we going to do about your fears around money and your money decisions, and how do we get you to the next place? So for example, it was really interesting to me from a fear perspective. I was given the gift a couple months ago of really being shoved really into some core fears that I have. And one of them actually came when I was up on Pikes Peak, which is out there by Colorado Springs. And it was really interesting as I was driving up the mountain. I wasn't even actually the one driving. I was in the passenger seat. When you get up above the timberline there, what starts to happen is you've got no guardrails and you've got nothing else on the sides except a mountain that goes like this, because you're getting to the peak of one of the largest peaks in the western side of the United States. So when you're like sitting there going, there's about 2 feet between me and my car rolling down this mountain, I really thought that my fear of heights was gone and it was back with a vengeance. Now, when we have things like this that start to come up, whether it's your fear around, maybe you've created too much debt, or maybe you have a fear that you don't want to go back to all that old patterning that you were doing pre-pandemic. And you're like, I don't want to plug into the world the way that I plugged in before. So this is why I want you to write them down. Like I thought my fear of heights was completely gone, and it came back with a vengeance. Why? Because I know that life is like peeling an onion, right? And so as we peel that onion, we get into deeper and deeper layers of that fear until it's completely released and it's just not activated inside of you. And I want you to think of this like layering. So one of the pieces of the equation that I'm always talking about with the process with my clients is that we have to accept reality. So the reality of it is that you've got fears around this, whatever this is for you, right? So this is what we need to get our arms around. So by actually writing them down on a piece of paper, I'm going to walk you through this exercise because I think it's really, really important for you to name it. So number one is making sure that you write down your money fears because I want us to acknowledge them and allow those feelings to come up and out so that we can actually mitigate those feelings. I know sometimes that's not comfortable. I'm not one that likes to feel my feelings either, but the only way to the other side is through those feelings and through those fears. So let's write them down and let's feel some of those feelings. Number two, are you ready? Number two is, as you're looking at those fears, I want you to write down, what is the opportunity from those fears? What do I mean? Opportunity? What are you talking about? I remember when I was doing a seminar years ago, and this woman was laid off of a job that she was at for 22 years. And she was mad. Boy, she was salty. And she was kind of like trying to infiltrate her negative energy into the entire workshop that I was holding that day. And I was just like, congratulations. And she was like, what? Congratulations for what? I'm like, you were finally let go of your job. That is so awesome. And she's like, yeah, I failed to see how this is a good thing. And I started to help her with a paradigm shift. And this is where we can look at what are the opportunities in the things that you fear. So for an example, in this particular woman's case, she knew for years the job that she started 22 years ago no longer fed her heart and soul. And she was getting crabbier at work and wasn't having fun, and she wasn't getting the pay raises, she wasn't getting the bonuses, she wasn't getting the promotions, because this is how, when we're not plugging into the world authentically, meaning that we're not plugging into the world and what's true for us, then what winds up happening is financially, we don't get the bonuses, we don't get the raises, we don't get the promotions, and then we start getting more and more angry. And really, anger, if you really boil it down to, as does rage, so rage is a more pronounced version of anger, it's sadness. So the question is, if you're a person that where the feelings that you're feeling as you're talking about this is anger or rage, it's because you're sad about something. So maybe you're so detached from your feelings like I was years ago to where you just have to start asking yourself the question, what am I sad about? What am I sad about? I always chalked it up. Julie always made it happen. Julie always got it done. But guess what? I started to realize I had created a life that I did not love. And it was nobody else's fault but my own. And so I had to feel the feelings of the sadness going, I thought I did everything for the right reasons. And at the time I did. And on some level, I had to forgive myself for the fact that I created a life that wasn't what I really thought it was meant to be. So what's the opportunity? So this woman who lost her job, I said, if we don't shift our lives when we're getting the signs along the way. So when she wasn't getting the bonuses, she wasn't getting the raises, she wasn't getting the promotions, when that was happening to her, those were all flags going, hello, it's time for you to go that way. And if you don't go that way, we're going to have the 2x4 keep smacking you upside the head until you shift. And this is how we call in crises into our lives. So what do you want to create? So tell me, in your list of fears around your money decisions, what is it that you want to create and the opportunity for part number 2? What's the opportunity? What's the potential outcome? What's the opportunity that you never thought in a million years that if you didn't just be given all this time to just kind of do what it is that you want? And some of you may have created enough space for yourself financially to handle being laid off. And some of you may have spent every dime and then some because you have debt and you don't have the financial space to actually give yourself the time to take advantage of the opportunities. So I think it's important to recognize in this step number 2 is that I need you to allow yourself to be on the bridge, meaning that it's okay if you actually didn't have the bandwidth to actually financially do it. So maybe you have to, in the interim, take a job that at least pays your bills while you're now trying to figure out the opportunity for this new job. So just know it's okay no matter where it is that you're at. All right? So number one, write down the list of your fears and let's shine the light on them so they can go away. Number two, what is the opportunity behind all of those fears? And number three, it's about following the expansion. Follow what's expanding. Follow what's growing. And what do I mean by that? You know, I've had a lot of conversations financially with people lately about how, I think the market's going to fall apart. And it's so funny. I'm a financial professional and I'm sitting there going, well, yeah, maybe it will, maybe it won't. You know what? No financial professional out there knows exactly what's going to happen because nobody has that crystal ball that's going to tell them the answer. But what I do know is that follow the energy. So in these fears that you have around your money, then you're looking at the opportunities. Follow those opportunities that are starting to grow. Follow those opportunities that are opening doors. Follow, and you can only take that in for your own life and what it is that you're seeing, whether it's in your family financial life or your work financial life or your relationship financial life. Like money touches all of those areas. So it depends on where your fears and your emotions are acting their way out, whether it's in your relationships, your health, or your money. So it can show up in some of those areas and it can show up in all of those areas. But I want you to consider what is expanding. So if you've listed out the opportunities, you could see like, I'm going to use just an example. So clearly during a pandemic, hotels and airlines aren't expanding because nobody's traveling, right? Now they may be doing good business things, blah, blah, but what was expanding? You had companies that were expanding from a technology standpoint. You had companies that were growing from an innovation and creativity. And so what are those opportunities that are expanding that are on your list? And this is how you can get in the flow and in the present moment of your life while we're trying to clean up your financial past, which are all your debts, while living in the present moment to create the future that you want to expand into. But if we're not shining light on our fears, looking at the opportunities within them, and then follow whatever is expanding, you're going to have a mixed bag results. It's time for you to get to this next place. Cool? All right. Well, thanks for joining me. And don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell because I want you to get to a place of a life that you love. Thanks, everybody.